I bet a lot of you hadn't heard of some of the EVs that were pretty revolutionary and came out before Tesla, but I'm going to tell you about 5 of them right now. First up is the GM EV1, appropriately named. Doesn't look like much, but in its day, it was an engineering marvel. It's a 2-seater, really funky looking, but extremely aerodynamic. Guess what? It had regenerative brakes. When you let the pedal go, it slows down to charge the battery. In 1996, that's pretty cool. Here's the crazy part. Most of them were taken back from owners and GM actually crushed them, physically crushed the cars. I wonder if there's still some out there. First, well-known EV pickup truck, probably the Rivian, but definitely not the first EV pickup truck out there. That belongs to the Chevy S10 EV. It came out in 1997, right about the same time as that GM EV1. Didn't do much, not many miles, not too fast, but pretty innovative. How about the Toyota RAV4 EV that came out in the late 90s next? Based on probably the ugliest RAV4 ever though. Back then in the late 90s, the range was 88 miles for this RAV4 EV. Not bad for then. Next up is the BMW E1 that came out in the early 90s. If you look at BMW's current i3, you can see some of the inspiration from one to the next. Had a 45 horsepower motor and up to 150 miles of range. I think the E1 looks surprisingly modern for when it was made, and if you take a real close look at it, it's kind of like a scaled down Model X from a side profile. The last one is the GM Sunracer. I think the other ones were funky at that time, but they got nothing on this, and it came out in 1987. Powered straight from the sun. You'd have thought if this coming out in the 80s that solar tech in cars would have made a major leap by now, but it really hasn't. There's some cool stuff coming though. It's been 30 years since most of these cars. Crazy that it hasn't developed faster, but in just the last few years we've made up for the previous 30. Which one's your favorite? What do you think?